First round of the 1997 ITU Triathlon World Cup from Ishigaki, Japan. The beginning of a new era for the sport as the countdown to its Olympic debut begins in earnest. At the 2000 Millennium Games in Sydney, triathlon will be the first medal to be awarded. And it's from the World Cup circuit that those first Olympic medalists will emerge. For a new breed of young, multi-sport athletes, the 2000 Games provides a truly international showcase for their awesome strength and speed. For them, success in Sydney will be the ultimate sporting achievement, and the path to Olympic gold starts here. The tiny island of Ishigaki, a 4-hour flight from Tokyo across the East China Sea, and at first glimpse, an unlikely starting point for the world's best triathletes as they embark on their Olympic journey. It's the opening round of the ITU Triathlon World Cup. 36 women and 57 men have travelled from all over the world to contest the season's first major international triathlon race. For the first time ever, points will be awarded towards qualification for the Olympic Games in 3 years' time. The ITU Triathlon World Cup Tour features 10 events across the world, culminating in the World Championships in Perth, Australia in November. All of the races will be held over the now established Olympic swim, bike, run format. You'll be familiar with it now, a 1.5 kilometre swim, 40 kilometres on bike and a final 10-kilometre run. The reigning World Cup holders, both Australians, are back to defend their titles. Emma Carney, the most talented triathlete of her generation, still unbeaten on the World Cup circuit. And Miles Stewart, world champion back in 1991, still just 25 years old and looking forward to 2000.
I think it's given me some new motivation, really. I mean, before I'd pretty much done everything I'd wanted to do. I wanted to win the World Championships and I did that. You know, the indoor race was a big thing for me, and winning the World Series last year. So now I guess the next step for that is to win the Olympic gold medal, and I'll put all my energy into doing that.
But the Australians won't have it all their own way. Triathlon has grown in strength across the world, and this year sees a crop of talented young athletes from Europe and America competing on the international stage. Here in Ishigaki, it promises to be a fascinating start to the World Triathlon season. The women go first. Look out for Emma Carney, reigning world champion Jackie Gallagher, and the American Gail Lawrence. In the men's race, Miles Stewart will be up against triathlon legend Greg Welch and the world junior champion Sebastian Berlier. It's a hot, sticky day in Ishigaki. Temperatures are up into the 80s, humidity close to 80%. The opening stage, as ever, is the swim. 2 laps around the harbour in Ishigaki City, 1,500 metres in all. We'll be introducing the athletes and explaining all the race action as it develops. So sit back and enjoy the start of the 1997 ITU World Cup Triathlon season. The start of the 1997 International Triathlon Union World Cup Tour is just a few moments away, and understandably so. There's a few nervous faces out there. Each and every one of the athletes is now wearing a new colour-coded cap, which helps us pick out the world rank, and of course the most important one is there close up on your screens, the fluorescent green cap of Emma Carney, the defending World Cup champion. And this will be very helpful to us picking out the specialists, but most important, picking out the athletes who are favourites for the race and often find themselves a little down on the pace with regards to the first part of this swim, bike, run competition. Catherine, it's a good new system, and as always, it's a scrappy start, and this new colour scheme helps us pick out Emma Carney, already in trouble.
You can see that she's caught in a sea of flailing arms and legs there. She was a little bit behind the front row at the start, and as a result, as everybody levelled out to to start the swim, she got a few kicks in the face, and you can see that she's boxed in there right beside the rope. I think she's going to find it hard to get some clear water.
Well, there are one or two athletes that have found clear water. Closest to your screens in the light blue cap, that's Deirdre Grace of Australia. She's a former national team swimmer, so she will have the pace early on. Just to the right of her, in the darker blue cap, that's the world number 6, Gail Lawrence. A very smooth, even-paced swim. It's very busy and bustly out there, but what's interesting to note, Catherine, that a lot of the swimmers have been practicing water polo styles and techniques in preparation for these tough starts.
You can see there in the replay how some of them are able to get ahead very quickly. Gail Lawrence is one of those. She's a member of the U.S. Olympic resident team up in Colorado Springs, and they've been training using these water polo techniques to get ahead of the pack as soon as you can, get some clear water, and be able to use your stroke most efficiently, as you can see there.
Well, there's no change in the tactic of last year. Emma Carney, world number 1, is not renowned for her swimming, and she finds herself down the field once again, as she did in this very same race a year ago. Hustling and bustling through the field in the black cap there. Going into about 5th position now, it looks, is Sharon Donnelly. She's a military triathlete representing Canada, but there's no question the Australian 27-year-old, Deirdre Grace, she is the swim expert, is setting a blistering pace, but very smoothly, calm and confidently. Gail Lawrence tucked in behind her, and there is Donnelly really trying to get up amongst the action and driving very hard indeed.
For some, even like world champion Jackie Gallagher, the opening moments of a triathlon can be a real challenge.
The swim starts the part of the race I like least, and it's probably my worst part of the race. I'm a notoriously slow starter in the swim, and you know, I don't like having a lot of people around me. I don't like people in my space, and you know, I'm a real rhythm person, and if I can't get that rhythm, I just hate it. So I normally try to start off to the side somewhere out of trouble, and you know, just do the best I can to get going.
Back to the action with a beautiful view of Ishigaki Harbour. There are 2 laps of the swim, and the top women athletes are now on the home stretch of the first lap. We've completed about 500 metres, and the Australian Deirdre Grace has been pushing very hard from start and hoping to come out of the water first. There's 2 or 3 athletes, including Sharon Donnelly and Susan Bartholomew, bunched up quite close behind her, but the Australian is setting a pace and already splitting the field nice and early on. You may have just seen the fluorescent green cap of the world number 1, Emma Carney. She's down on the field once again. A year ago, she came out of the water 11th and still claimed victory in Ishigaki. We calculate she's round about 40 seconds off the pace, but this looks to be a quick swim, Catherine.
A very quick swim. As you may remember, a lot of these athletes have been competing in Australia over their summer season in the very short Australian Grand Prix races, so they are in extremely good shape. But it's Emma's first real race of the season, so she might not be quite as race fit as the others.
It's a saltwater swim as well, which may give the athletes a little more buoyancy, and that buoyancy will come in handy now as the Australian Deirdre Grace gets out of the water. She's in familiar territory. It's the bike and the run sections that are the weaker spot in this Australians Triathlon Challenge, but looking very dynamic into the water there, certainly enjoying this first of 3 sections to be competed. Susan Bartholomew is next out of the water, 12 seconds down with work to do, but again a newcomer, way down in the rankings, looking good. Now some of the more established names start to come out onto the beach, including Rena Hill for Australia. Jackie Gallagher, the world champion of 1996, is not going to let this one slip through her fingers as this opening race of the World Cup season starts to gain a lot more pace and get a little more exciting. There's Emma Carney, 42 seconds down. And once again, for the 2nd year in succession, this superb triathlete gives herself extra work to do in the bike and run section still to follow.
We can see Deirdre Grace powering ahead there, but Emma, back about 15 seconds from Jackie Gallagher, isn't going to be that worried about how far Grace is ahead of her. She knows that she can catch up to Jackie when she gets out onto the bike, and the 2 of them can work together and try and break up the packs on the bike course.
I've done about 1 race since last November. I sort of took the whole time out down in Australia to work on my swimming. I thought the last year my swimming was too weak, and I want to make sure that I get out a lot closer to the front and then maybe do a few things on the bike. And I'm just basically improving each of my legs, so I do have improvement throughout the year.
19 minutes into the race and first out of the water. The leader from start to finish, Australia's Deirdre Grace, crosses the finishing line for the first part of this three-leg competition in 90 minutes, 34 seconds. That's almost a minute quicker than last year. Just behind her is Susan Bartholomew, the outsider, has done extremely well to close down that 12-second gap from the first lap, and another impressive cyclist is third out of the water. That is Sharon Donnelly, world rank number 10, and these could create a formidable early bike pack. Fourth out of the water is Rena Hill. She's 17 seconds. Just behind her is Gail Lawrence, very much looking to get into that early bike pack and break away from the favourites who are still to get out of the water. We turn our eyes back to the swim exit, and there is Jackie Gallagher, the 96 world champion, 39 seconds down on her Australian counterpart. Emma Carney, the fluorescent green cap, once again is slow out of the water. She's in 13th position to get to the bike, 54 seconds off the pace. But Catherine, this is a world-class athlete. This was the position she was in a year ago, and she easily claimed top spot.
I don't think Emma's worried at all. She's got everything under control, and she knows that just out of the transition area, they have to turn to the left and go up the bridge. Emma's a real climber. She can really control herself on those hills, and she knows that she can catch up to the stronger riders and make a pack with them.
Right at the beginning of this 40-kilometre cycle section, the American Susan Bartholomew takes the lead away from Deirdre Grace of Australia.
So, the split times for the swim. Deirdre Grace setting a fantastic pace at 19 minutes 34 seconds for the 1,500 meters. The highest ranked triathlete in the top 5 was world number 5 Rena Hill. But she'll need to work hard on her weakest stage, the bike, if she's to stay in touch on the streets of Ishigaki.
5 kilometres into the race, and the relative newcomer, Susan Bartholomew, has the lead, and she's gone down. Oh no! A disaster for the American in her first International Triathlon Union World Cup race, and throws this competition wide open. Disaster for Bartholomew, a very painful exit. And Catherine, where did it go wrong?
She was alone there, so it wasn't interference from another cyclist. She may not have been putting all her weight on her outside pedal, which is something you really should do on these slippery roads.
Well, it's not too disastrous for the American challenge just yet, because it still has the USA in top position. It looks like Gail Lawrence that is heading this lead pack of 4 cyclists, closely bunched. Hock for France is in that chase, but there the experienced contester, who was very smooth, calm, and quite calculated, one has to say, in the swim section, now takes the lead.
All 4 of these women are strong cyclists, but they're not as good as they are on the bike when they get to the run, and they'll have looked over their shoulders, and they will have seen Emma Carney and Jackie Gallagher. There they are now at the back of the screens, and they know that their only chance to stay ahead of them would be to put a gap on them on the bike section.
That gap is now disappearing. There'll be no more looking over the shoulders, because here she comes. Emma Carney, the twice World Cup champion, is starting to make her move. She's made up 40 seconds in just under 6 kilometres, and already she starts to set her sights on victory and is looking to join the chase pack. Also up there is Rena Hill and Jackie Gallagher as the big names start to make their move. Well, that leaves the chase pack now headed up by last year's Rookie of the Year, Nikki Andronicus from Australia. She's the world number 4 and took that title, or that world ranking, in her debut season. She's one to watch out for, but perhaps Catherine will now wait for that group to join her so she has someone to work with.
She's in unfamiliar territory being in the chase pack. She's usually out of the swim with the top swimmers, but she would do well to wait for the others to catch her up so she can work together with them.
Watch the lead group now. They're around about 20 seconds ahead of the chase pack, headed up by Nikki Andronicus, but it's a familiar sight. Number 1 on the helmet, head down. It is Emma Carney, who has battled her way into top position. Christine Hoch, the top European, is right in the challenge, and this is a superb start to Christine's season. She'll be delighted, just outside the top 50 world rankings coming into this opener of the season. There's Emma Carney again, drafting and moving in and out of the pack. They're working very well. This is effective triathlon cycling from these top athletes, as world rank number 3 Jackie Gallagher takes her spot at the head of the pack.
Having 7 women in a pack is just about the right number to be able to work efficiently together. They each take their turn at the head of the pack, and then they fall to the back when they've done their bit. And you can see the second pack here, the chase pack, is much larger. They may not be so accustomed to each other's skills, and it is harder to drag around that many more people.
Well, Nikki Andronicus is trying her best to break away and join this lead group, but as our expert Catherine Davis pointed out to us before the start of today's competition, she did take quite a nasty crash in training a week ago, and perhaps that's taking the toll on her challenge. Tucked in just ahead of her there is number 12, Evelyn Williamson, who finished her season on the International Triathlon Union World Cup Tour very strong almost a year ago in Auckland and Sydney, where she was twice fourth. Then there is the big group that are around about 20-25 seconds behind the lead pack, having their work cut out and having to be perhaps a little more careful around this very tight up and down bend, as it is much larger than those front runners, where 7 out of the top 10 world's top triathletes are blazing the trail.
The chase pack was being led by Jill Newman from the United States. She's also on the U.S. Olympic resident team, and we saw her last year in the races in Brazil being a very strong cyclist. She's improved her swimming no end to be up there in the chase pack. There was also Vika Hoogstad from Holland, who was third in Sydney last year, and Natasha Hilgeholt, who's recovering from knee surgery. So we do have a couple of very strong cyclists in that chase pack.
Down the hill off the bridge, and Emma Carney perhaps now starts to make her break. It's Jackie Gallagher that's tucked in right behind her. Rena Hill is also up there. Sharon Donnelly is the only athlete out of the top 5 in the world that's making a chase here, but look at them picking up the pace as they sense to drive her home. Nikki Andronicus has battled bravely, but is finding it difficult, very difficult, to close down the gap between the second group and the lead pack, who are pushing very hard now.
A reminder of the bike stage, a twisting section through the city of Ishigaki, and then that climb over the harbour bridge. It's a course that demands complete concentration.
I was second here last year to Emma, and I think I made a couple of little mistakes in the race, but I really like the course. I think it suits me. I like having a hill in the bike, and I like lots of corners. I let Emma make a move on me on a hill last year, which I'm not going to let happen again. But, you know, I love the atmosphere here too. The crowds are fantastic in Ishigaki, and there's always lots of people with lots of energy on the sidelines. And, you know, I think it's just a fun race and a feel-good race, and that's a good way to start the season.
40 kilometres is the challenge for stage 2 of this 3-part competition, and the lead group are now hitting the 23-kilometre mark. We make that about 3 laps to go before they move on to the 10k run. There are 2 main chase groups behind the leaders, around about 1 minute 6 seconds behind for the first chase group, and then 2 minutes behind for this, the third chase pack. They're really starting to find the going very difficult indeed.
It looks like the top spots are going to be sorted out among this lead pack then. All the top runners are here, and they're making about 20 seconds a lap up on the chase pack. So I think they're in good shape for the top spots. You can see them going up the hill on the bridge. Now in training, all the athletes mention that it really is a lot harder than it looks. They haven't dropped a gear, but they are standing up on their pedals to be able to tackle the hill. But the real problem lies when they turn around and come back up the other side of the bridge. There's a heavy headwind, and they're really going to have to fight against that.
World number 6, Gail Lawrence, takes the lead, perhaps one of the most experienced challengers in this front pack. She hasn't won an international triathlon, or a World Cup triathlon at least, since 1994 in Ilias, so she will be looking to challenge Emma Carney, who once again looks poised, looks ever-present. There's number 65, one of the famous names in the field, making her triathlon debut. That's Lisa Rainsberger from the USA. She's been 4th in 3 US marathon trials and able to make the Olympic squad, and now sees triathlon as perhaps her route to the Sydney Olympics in 2000, when this exciting sport makes its debut.
She's got a lot of work to do, though. She's about 7 minutes back, and that's the one thing that experience in these World Cup races gives you. It gives you the ability to get out of the swim and jump into a pack, so you have people to work with.
Back with the chase group, 1 minute 15 seconds behind the leaders, and as you note there, Nikki Andronicus has now been swallowed up. Natasha Hilgeholt leading the chase pack, but these are the leaders, headed by Jackie Gallagher. Riding behind the Aussie is number 75, Deirdre Grace, remember the leader from the swim. Gail Lawrence, one of the most experienced challengers. And there is 51, keeping the European hopes alive, Christine Hock for France. She's on target for a personal best. But there, Emma Carney, keeping an eye on just about everybody. And just behind her, carrying 5, is Rena Hill. The last of the lead group is Sharon Donnelly. But look at Emma Carney. She's waiting to make her move. She's looking to time the break into the transition area. And for those of you unfamiliar with this exciting sport, there's a 10k run still to come, but these are the world's best, the elite of women's triathlon. And the question is, Catherine, which one will make the break first, or will Carney wait for the run?
In that lead pack, we do have the current world champion and 2-time World Cup champion, Emma Carney. Jackie is the world champion, and Jackie outran Emma at the World Championships last year. She started the run with her and ended up beating her by over a minute. So Emma's got that fresh in her mind. She really wants to win here. She wants to start the season off on a good foot. She knows Jackie's in good shape from the Australian summer season, and she has to make her mark here.
Rena Hill, another strong runner, takes the lead.
Rena Hill, race leader at the moment, but this is the kind of bike course that could really test her.
I've never been known for my strength on the hills and that, but I have been working on a bit of hill work lately and that, so I'm hoping that my added bit of strength is going to help with the hills. And with this sort of type of course, we have got a hill, we've got the bridge that we've got to cross, 7 times, and it's going to come down to someone's going to make a break on that hill. I mean, that's what happened last year with Emma, so it's going to be the ability to hang in there over that climb.
We rejoin the action in the closing stages of this 40-kilometre cycle section. There have been no breakaways. It's Gail Lawrence, number 6, who leads, but they're very tightly bunched. Transition will be very important. The big news is that the chase pack are 1 minute 40 seconds behind, so our winner will more than likely come from this group unless there is some extraordinary running from some of the back markers. They close, just a couple of more bends to come, and then they come into the transition area. Catherine, we've talked about it before, but speed of out of the bike and into those track shoes is vital at this point in the event.
More than anything, it's the psychological advantage of getting the lead out of the transition area, because then you have to stay ahead. You're not playing catch-up, and that's really important in these final stages of a triathlon.
Emma Carney is looking to move into first position. Right at the back is perhaps the least experienced of them all, Christine Hoch from France. But this is anybody's for the taking. Remember, there is 10 kilometres of running still to be taken in before the first round of the International Triathlon Union World Cup Tour is decided. But it's Gail Lawrence who's first off the bike. It's the first one away, which is the most important. Emma Carney hooks up the bike onto the bar. It's essential that the bike is hooked up correctly before the athlete can move into the transition area to change from bike helmet and bike shoes to track shoes for a 10-kilometre run. There's Emma Carney, ever confident, ever professional. She's practiced this a million times before, and she's looking as quick as ever. Jackie Gallagher, the world champion's close too. This will be a scintillating finish. It's very close indeed. Gail Lawrence looking a little tired. Emma Carney, a quick liquid intake, but she's the first out. It is the World Cup champion versus the world champion in the finale to this first round of the World Cup Tour.
Speed through the transition has given Emma Carney a slight lead in the run. It shows the importance of the changeover sections of the triathlon. At the end of the bike stage, she's given the same time as Jackie Gallagher.
This season's opener is developing into a familiar story. Emma Carney leads from Jackie Gallagher, but surely she has the psychological advantage. This leader from Australia has never been beaten in World Cup competition. The chase back. Well, Nikki Andronicus is one of the finest runners. She's a former Australian national pentathlete champion. She's got a lot of time to make, and as we pointed out earlier, it's very, very unlikely that the chase group will now change the top 3, perhaps even top 8 positions. But there's a whole host of talent in there, and there's still World Cup points to be decided as Emma Carney and Jackie Gallagher continue to stride it out. Just out of focus to the right of your screens, wearing the dark glasses, Rena Hill, also for Australia. A former cross-country runner is starting to make her move. That could also be a threat to Emma Carney. She's pushing well, but Emma Carney, well, the most fluid of the two runners, very calm, and has been known to be incredibly calculated in 10-kilometre running. It was a much faster course a year ago where they ran about 34 minutes 50 seconds. But this year, well, we're expecting to be a little slower. Pushing on is Rena Hill, hoping perhaps that Jackie Gallagher may tire, but it seems to have come, Catherine, the move by Emma Carney. Surely there's no stopping her now.
It looks like when they went around the cone, she just upped the pace a bit, and she managed to get 10 metres on Jackie, and that sometimes is irretrievable. But I think the missing link here today is Carol Montgomery. She is here. We talked to her yesterday, but she woke up this morning with the flu, and that would have been a really fine race to have the 3 of them vying for the top spot.
Well, we've said it once, and it's definitely worth repeating. Emma Carney is undefeated in World Cup competition. This is perhaps the finest athlete the world has ever seen, and she looks to have sewn up the opener of this season. We move back to the chase runners. Nikki Andronicus is in there. And there is number 12, Evelyn Williamson, who finished the season so strong in Auckland and Sydney, twice fourth, looking to maintain that consistency, but it now becomes a foregone conclusion with 14 seconds after lap 1 separating Emma Carney and Jackie Gallagher, 30 seconds to Rena Hill, and she looks as comfortable as ever, striding out for what looks to be quite an easy victory in this, the first round of the season. This could also be her first 500 points on the road to the Olympic Games of Sydney in the year 2000, as we do have a new point-scoring system, Catherine, for our sport.
That's right, Nick. All the athletes start out with 0 points this year. Previous years, they've carried the points over from one year to the next. So that means it's a level playing field for everybody. And it means that a lot of people will be looking to the year 2000. They won't be looking for short-term game. Their strategy will be to have the most points come the year 2000, so they will be on that line, as there's only 50 spots for men and women.
Carney's brutal pace had destroyed the field. 2 sub-9-minute laps were followed by a third lap that saw her extend her lead to over a minute. Carney was well on the way to defending her unbeaten record in the ITU Triathlon World Cup.
The race was now for second position. Gallagher, after her long season on the Australian circuit, was looking tired, and Rena Hill made her move at the end of lap 2. For the world champion, it was now just a question of hanging on to third place. Behind Gallagher, the German, Anja Dittmer, had worked her way through the field from the chase group on the bike and was heading for a place in the top 5.
Coming out of lap 3, Emma Carney was 1 minute ahead of her closest rival, and she's still picking up the pace coming into the finish area now. The winner here a year ago, recording her 14th International Triathlon Union victory, Emma Carney is back for the 1997 with 500 World Cup points and in insatiable form once again. The salutes from the Japanese crowd who've enjoyed her performance from start to finish. Remember, she looked down and out in the swim, battled in the cycle, and has shown her domination in this 10-kilometre run. Yet another emphatic victory for Carney.
Emma, great start to your season. How do you feel?
I feel great. I wasn't sure how I was going to go. First season, you know you're fit, but you don't know if you're race fit, so I'm ecstatic.
And beating Jackie by such a large margin?
Well, I mean, I always say I worry about myself. Jackie, maybe she had a bad day, maybe we her time next time, so she did well. We got top 3 again.
So what a great start to your season. You feel confident for the next races?
Yeah, sure. Feel be more confident.
Emma Carney saluting the crowd. 36 minutes and 12 seconds for 10 kilometers shows that the run course was perhaps just a fraction long. Behind her, Rena Hill put in the 3rd fastest run of the day to finish 2nd. Jackie Gallagher was over 2 minutes slower than Carney on the run, in 3rd place. Confirmation then of the top 5. Carney wins from Hill and Gallagher, with Sharon Donnelly in 4th and Anja Dittmer, the best placed European, in